Moreover, the Lord said to Aaron, "You shall have no inheritance in their land, nor shall you have any portion among them. I am your portion and your inheritance in the midst of the children of Israel. Behold, I give the children of Levi all the tithes in Israel as an inheritance in return for their land, for their liturgical service, whatever they minister liturgically in the tabernacle of testimony. Hereafter the children of Israel shall not come near the tabernacle of testimony, lest they bear guilt and die. But the Levite himself shall minister liturgically in the tabernacle of testimony, and they shall bear their sins. It shall be an eternal ordinance throughout your generations, that in the midst of the children of Israel they shall have no inheritance. For the tithes of the children of Israel, whatever they may offer as a portion to the Lord, I give to the Levites as an inheritance. Therefore I say to them, in the midst of the children of Israel they shall have no inheritance." Basically, while the priests were supported by their portions of the sacrifices brought to God's altar, God commanded that the Levites be supported by the tithes of Israel. The tithes belonged to God, but God then gave them to the Levites. A second tithe was to be given for festivals at church, and the third tithe for every third year was used to give to the orphans, to the poor, to widows, and to strangers. The Lord had promised that if people were faithful in doing this, He would open up the gates of heaven and give the land to them. The more Joachim gave, the more the Lord blessed him. While the Lord's blessings was upon Joachim and Anna, there was one aspect of where it was not. They were unable to have children. Just as Hannah, the mother of Prophet Peter, the prophet Samuel, was ridiculed for having no children, so were Joachim and Anna. People assumed that because they were unable to have children, and the Lord wasn't able to bless them. Neither this man nor his parents sinned, but that the works of God should be revealed in him. John chapter 9, verse 2-3 reminds us that all things work together for good. In case of Joachim and Anna, around the time of their wedding anniversary, the high priest had refused their offering. He called them cursed when they presented their offerings. Joachim and Anna returned to Nazareth and retired separately for prayer and fasting. Both prayed separately that the Lord would work on them the wonder that they worked on Abraham and Sarah. And as Hannah did with Samuel, Joachim and Anna both separately prayed to the Lord that once they had the child, they would devote it to the Lord. They would dedicate their child to the Lord. When Joachim went to the hills to pray, he did not intend to come back until the Lord had answered his prayers. Knowing this, Anna prayed and shed tears, mourning that her barrenness, her approach among the people, and her imminent widowhood. During this time of fasting and prayer, an angel appeared first to Joachim and then to Anna, telling them three things. One, that their charitable deeds have gone up into God's presence. Secondly, that their shame among men in the face of righteous living had not gone unnoticed. And thirdly, that the Lord was going to answer their prayers. As a sign of this, the angel instructed Joachim and Anna separately to leave Nazareth and go back to Jerusalem immediately. When they got there, they would meet each other at the golden gate of the city. The angel went on to say that the child to be born, which is Mary, would be filled with the Holy Spirit. From her mother's womb, and her life would be exemplary among her peers. Without knowing that the other had known that the angel had told them both to hurry back to Jerusalem, Anna had arrived first and waited on Joachim to arrive back to Jerusalem with his offerings. He had 10 goats He had 10 lambs for the elders and 10 calves for the priests and for the priests, and 100 goats for the people who had ridiculed him. Since this was a free will offer and not a prescribed offer, the priest had to take it. An interesting teaching in a similar vein by the Lord 45 years later involved loving one's enemies, doing good to those who hate you, and pray for those who spitefully use you. To him who strikes you on the cheek, offer the other also, and from him who takes a cloak, do not withhold your tunic either. Give to everyone who asks you, and from him who takes from you, do good. Do not task them back. And just as men do to you, you also do likewise. But if you lose love to those who love you, what credit is that to you? Because a man who sins also loves the man who loves him back. And if you do good to those who do good to you, what credit is that to you? For sinners do the same. And if you lend to those who hope to receive something back, what credit is that to you? For even sinners lend sinners and hoping for something back. But love your enemies, do good and lend, hoping for nothing in return. And your reward will be great. For the Most High, for he will be kind, unthankful, and evil. Therefore be merciful, just as your Father is merciful. When they saw each other, Joachim and Anna rejoiced greatly. The next day they offered their offerings and returned to Nazareth together. When it was heard that Anna had conceived, all their neighbors and acquaintances rejoiced, and the whole land of Israel congratulated them. The birth of our Holy Virgin Mary is celebrated in the Orthodox Church as one of the 12 major feast days of our church life. The birth of our Holy Virgin Mary on May 8th, the Lord had said in Matthew chapter 10, verse 37-38, "He who loves father or mother more than me is not worthy of me.